Greetings from Pandora. Welcome to A Vault Hunter's Guide to the Borderlands, the best Borderlands podcast on the EchoNet. I'm Drew.
I am Jeff.
Thanks for joining us today for episode number 7, where today we're going to be ranking all the bosses in the vanilla version of Borderlands 1. But first, just a quick reminder that you can always get in contact with us via Twitter at avaulthunterspod or through our email, avaulthuntersguide@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, and just to make sure that everyone's aware, when we say vanilla game, we're just doing the ones in the original release of the game without any DLC or anything like that. So, I think maybe, not sure, maybe our next one will be going through the ones in the DLC and everything like that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll sort it out. I mean, we'll definitely be covering them at some point. Just not today.
Yeah, there was a lot of bosses already, so we're like, we need to cut this down a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, because you don't really think about it, because not all of them are named. I mean, all the bosses that we're fighting are named bosses, but they weren't always. But not all the bosses have splash screens. So all the splash screen. Man, that's hard to say quickly.
Splash
bosses,
screen. Yeah.
All the splash screen bosses, but there's all the little ones in between, like the fact that Bonehead doesn't have a splash screen at all.
Yeah.
Guys like that,
Neither of the Cobbs have a splash screen at all.
Yeah. It's weird. It's weird. Anyways.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into it. As always, we like to start with the news. So first of all, we have a new trailer. Woo!
Woo!
So,
which is not. We're gonna address that elephant in the room right now. Not everybody was super stoked to be seeing a new trailer.
Yeah,
that's not what they were hoping for.
Yeah. Admittedly, from the wording on Twitter, they had kind of said that something, they had sent out it was a screenshot that said, "We hope to see you there," and it said, "Please join us for a celebration of togetherness, Tuesday, July 16th, 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time at borderlands.com. Link, comment, and share in lieu of gifts." So,
which had me excited about something. I was a little irritated that I was like, man, what is it, 7 o'clock in the morning Pacific time? I was at work. I had been at work for 3 hours at that point. So
yeah, yep, same. I had been at work for about 2 hours. So
yeah,
same kind of thing. A lot of people it was really hard to infer what they were getting from that. So it was just really interesting. It was a new trailer. The new trailer is great and everything like that. Because they really gave us no information on what it was before that, everyone started having their own preconceived notions about what it was, and celebration of togetherness had a lot of people thinking it was going to be something more about the crossplay and everything like that, but we did actually get some information on that as well. So Randy Pitchford put out on Twitter, he says, "Hey, look, what we have to show you guys is really cool. It's not about crossplay. Crossplay will be there. It won't be there at launch. It will be there soon after launch," was basically the gist of his tweet.
Which is fine. That's totally fine. Yeah. It's the fact that I feel like there's two camps when it comes to what they did with this. You're either in the camp of, hey, they got us super hyped for something, and all they gave us was a shitty new trailer. Not shitty, but I mean, another friggin' trailer.
Yeah.
And there's other people, such as myself, who are in the camp of well, maybe y'all read a little bit too much into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I do feel that Gearbox could have gone about it differently. If they wanted to release the trailer, they could have just released it, and it would have been fine. I feel like it was unnecessary to do the post saying, hey, come and check this out. It's a super cool thing. Just have the premiere feature up on YouTube and then release it when you want to.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I'm still, like I said, I'm still in the camp of they didn't say, "Oh my God, you guys are gonna be blown away. Holy shit!" They weren't blowing it out of proportion. We kind of did that to ourselves, I feel like.
Which, to be fair, I mean, that's just a product of the internet age, I feel like. We're really, really good at doing that. The internet's...
Oh, hell yeah, we are.
the internet's really, really good at blowing small things way out of proportion, and they're also really, really good at thinking things are going to be absolutely awful when they turn out to be pretty good. Like, I remember, like, this is a long time ago. Like, this is a long time ago. But did you remember reading any of the comments from like back in the day about when Robert Downey Jr. got cast as Iron Man?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The internet was just afire with people being like, "This is the worst. There's no way he can play Tony Stark." Blah blah blah. And like on the other hand, just super overhyping stuff that doesn't warrant it.
Yeah, exactly. So either way, it is what it is. The trailer's really cool. One thing I did want to talk to you about, though, and for those of you, well, obviously none of you guys are aware if you're listening to it, but like, Drew and I, obviously we conversed a little bit beforehand, everything like that, and I just had a thought when I was rewatching the trailer before we recorded this episode, and my thought was this: what is with the consistent imagery of the roses?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been a theme ever since the second, what was it, the second teaser trailer that everything was all white and they were scrolling through it all and everything. Like there were a ton of roses in that. It's really, I don't know. I don't know if it's just a cool imagery thing that they're going for, or if it ties in well to the cover because of the whole, the religious kind of thing that they've got going on with the cover. I don't know, but I'm gonna say it's got nothing to do with the game. I'm gonna take the safe road here and be like, yeah, it's got nothing to do with roses. There's nothing to do with flowers. And it's just a cool symbolic thing to tie into the game. All
right. Fair enough. So,
what do you think?
I personally think that it does have more to do with it than we're led to believe. So I'm not sure how in-depth it goes, but I do think it is something, even if it is just the symbology of it, as far as, because there may be something there that symbolism. Yes, you know what I mean. It's been look, I had several tornado warnings last night and everything like that. It was a rough day. I stood in for an hour in a Texas Roadhouse bathroom because there was a tornado. There's a tornado watch happening, or tornado warning watch. Whichever one. Tornadoes touched down in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, where else could you ask to be besides the Texas Roadhouse bathroom during a tornado?
Yes. Okay. So, legitimately, I texted Drew. I was like, "Hey, just to let you know, there's tornado warning happening right now where I'm at, and I'm at Texas Roadhouse. If I go down, let everyone know that my last act was eating a steak."
And in true brotherly fashion, I'm revealing this to you now. I'd be like, yeah, he was at Texas Roadhouse, but he was eating a salad. So
you would.
I would.
You jerk.
Absolutely.
So anyway, yeah. So the symbolism of it, I think, goes deeper, and even if it's something as along the lines of a rose is pretty to look at, but it's got thorns, not to get a terrible 80s song stuck in your head, but
right.
But yeah, no, I think it does have something to do with it more, and I think we'll find out later. So
maybe it's just something as simple as there's a character that dies, and as they're doing the funeral or memorial or whatever, they're surrounded by roses. Maybe it's something like that.
Maybe. Who knows? We don't know yet. So anyway, moving on. So Drew found this next story. I'm going to be honest, I haven't even read it yet. So I'm going to let him cover this, because all I'm seeing on my screen is a thing that says Borderlands 3 cover almost had a foot.
Yeah. So this is an article, this is from PC Gamer, and it covers an exhibit that they did at San Diego Comic-Con. They had a whole huge thing called the Museum of Mayhem, where they were showcasing some of the game's rejected cover art. There was a cosplay contest, a bunch of other cool stuff. But anyways, and we'll link the article in the show notes and everything. But as most of you are familiar, I'm assuming, Borderlands 1 on the cover has a psycho doing finger guns, a single finger gun to its temple. Borderlands 2, two finger guns to the underneath its chin. The Borderlands 3 cover that I'm looking at right now, similar, but now with a foot also pointing under the chin, which Jeff and I actually kind of speculated that when we first heard about Borderlands 3. We're like, what do we do with 3? A foot? We all had that conversation.
Yeah.
There's also so apparently that was the one that was in the running, one of the finalists along with the current, actual cover art. But there's other ones that they have on here, like they show there's one that's really intriguing that has 3 baby psychos on there. 2 of them breastfeeding, and one of them not, and making with 3 fingers up, and then there's another one that has a psycho, but instead of a normal head, it's got a rocket launcher, and just some real. Actually, I really like this other one here. It's what it shows is it says Borderlands, but the E is a 3. That's a pretty simple one, and it's just a silhouette of a psycho doing finger guns, but it's got 3 fingers pointed at its chin, and it implies that the psycho blew its own brains out, but instead of seeing brains out the back of the head, you see guns and characters and stuff like that. It's all done in a silhouette style. That style's wicked and pretty classic looking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll link the article in there. You can check all those out yourself. I'm really happy with the one that they went with, though.
Yeah, I think, because I'm looking at these now, I think of the ones that I'm seeing, honestly, the one with the foot is not bad.
No, it's really not. It does. My only issue with it is that it looks maybe too similar to Borderlands 2 cover.
Yeah, and, I think, so again, it doesn't look bad. I think the thing with the foot is, that's true Borderlands humor right there. It's just
oh, for sure.
That's pretty good.
We're out of goddamn feet. Or we're out of goddamn hands. Might as well use a foot,
Right, exactly. So there's another one down lower, too, that's similar, where it's got a psycho, and has his arm extended past the screen, or past the border of the picture. And then from behind, it
implies that he's pointing a gun at somebody else.
Yeah, and then there's a hand coming from the other direction off frame, so it's got 3 fingers pointed at the back of his head, and then it looks like the brain splattery kind of a thing that opens up into seeing the characters, kind of like we did have on on Borderlands 2. On the Borderlands 2 cover. So yeah, really interesting though. It's cool that they went all out and showed all this information there.
Yeah, it's super cool. Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know which one your favorite is, even if it's the one that they actually ended up going with.
So. Yeah, absolutely. So,
and then I also found this last story.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna. It's a direct link right to the ESRB ratings, the Entertainment Software Rating Board. Obviously, they've rated Borderlands 3 as M for mature, 17 plus content. I'm just going to read through it quick. Content descriptors: blood and gore, intense violence, sexual themes, strong language, and other. So I'm just going to... I know this is probably pretty boring sometimes, but I'm going to read through the rating summary, and there's some actually really cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
This is a first-person shooter in which players assume their role of a vault hunter, engaging in combat missions while traversing through planets on foot and in vehicles. Players explore new planets, interact with characters, and accept missions to kill specific enemies or obtain objects/information. Players use pistols, machine guns, shotguns, grenade launchers, and explosives to kill enemies in frenetic combat. Battles are highlighted by realistic gameplay, cries of pain, and frequent blood splatter effects. Some weapons cause enemies to explode into blood sprays and body parts. Stylized environments depict further instances of violence and gore. Severed heads on spikes, a human corpse on a Spitfire, a giant grinder emitting body parts and blood, a birthday cake decorated with severed fingers. The game contains some sexual material, mostly in the dialogue. Examples include looks like someone won't be getting a precoital foot rub. I wasn't always the smoking hot 6-stroke sex engine I am today. I'm talking sex stuff. 2 rounds if I've got the juice. And including also curse words such as... So just quick sidebar. We've agreed, Jeff and I have a gentleman's agreement to not drop the F-bomb on here, much to my chagrin. But, so there's the F word in addition to shit and asshole appear in dialogue. So.
Yeah. So
that's a lot more sexual dialogue than has been in previous games, if I'm remembering correctly.
I mean, we don't know for sure that, like, all of these sexual things weren't said by Moxie or someone that she works with, though.
Oh, yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, so if they're said by anybody besides Moxie, I'd be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I could see... Okay, you know in Borderlands 2, when you first meet Marcus, and he shoots a guy in the knee?
Yeah. So, looks like it works to me.
Right, so What if they did a spin-off of that, and, like, some guy's at Moxie's, and when you first meet her in Borderlands 3, she shoots a guy in the foot, and that's when she says, looks like someone won't be getting a precoital foot rub.
Nice. I like it. So, without knowing too much about it, because we have, like, those, like, 3 specific phrases, looks like someone won't be getting a precoital foot rub. I wasn't always the smoking hot 6-stroke engine I am today. I'm talking
6-stroke sex engine.
6-stroke sex engine. That's hard to say.
Yeah, it is.
I'm talking sex stuff. 2 rounds if I've got the juice. All right. So I think that Moxie could totally say the first one. That sounds like a Moxie line to me. Yep. So
she could say the second one also.
She could. I feel like just because of... I don't know. I feel like maybe that's a little bit more of an Ellie kind of a thing, though.
Could be. Could be. You know who I'm hoping? I'm hoping that it's Brick.
So, because we know that there's going to be more dialogue from the characters too, like from the actual player characters. Like, I'm wondering if any of that. Comes up. Like, because like just based on what some of the dialogue and stuff like that we've heard from Zane as well. Like, I could see him like maybe saying that during like part of a dialogue or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Doesn't he also have like a bit of an accent too? Like, doesn't he have like a Scottish accent or something like that?
I believe you're correct. Yeah, he's got some kind of accent.
Yeah.
Lastly, the quote: "I'm talking sex stuff. 2 rounds if I've got the juice." That's totally a psycho saying that, right? I'm talking sex stuff. 2 rounds if I've got the juice. Like, that's exactly what's going on there. It's got to be.
I would think so. Although I could also see that really easily being Crazy Earl as well. I'm talking sex stuff. 2 rounds if I got the juice.
Yeah. So, I mean, but either way, we're talking either a psycho or a guy whose first name is Crazy.
Yeah.
So I just kind of see what they're going with there.
Oh yeah.
So a little light on news this week, and that's what we got. But that'll wrap it up. All those links are going to be in the show notes. So let's go ahead and move on to our main topic, which is ranking all of the bosses from the vanilla version of Borderlands 1.
Yeah. Just as a heads up, the way we decided this, so we went through the bosses that we have on here, and we ranked them. We did a 10 scale on each of these, and then we just averaged them out pretty easy. So we have their difficulty, their uniqueness, their rewards, and an X factor. X factor being anything additional that we thought was cool or that they deserve points for or anything like that. But note that everyone got at least something in every single category. There are no zeros in any category at all.
Yeah, it's a true 1 to 10 scale. So even the worst of the worst that have nothing special about them got a 1 in like X factor and stuff. Yeah.
So I think you guys will be excited. No one got a perfect score. Also,
nobody.
Also, we are talking about. We'll get to the end. There's something that we need to really discuss at the end. So
yeah, really interesting. So, you wanna go ahead and start off at the bottom here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the first, we're gonna kind of group. You're gonna see this every now and then, but like we're kind of gonna group two of these enemies together because they are basically identical, and they are Helab and Widowmaker, which are two spider ants that you're gonna be fighting. They got. Let's see. Are we gonna do the combined score?
I mean. We have them listed separately because they're separate entities, so No,
so but I mean when we go through, when we say what a okay, so they come in tied at 25th or something like that. But anyways, their combined, their total score is 7. That's out of a possible 40, okay?
Yeah.
So we're not going to go through every single number on every single category, but let's just say that they each got 2s in difficulty and 1s in uniqueness and 3 in rewards and 1 in X Factor.
Yeah.
And the only reason that they got 3s in rewards is because they do have a loot pile. So that's not bad. That's fine. But the problem is that they're just slightly kind of big spider ants. There's nothing really interesting or cool about them.
No, there's nothing really cool about them. They are just big spider ants, and that's what they are. So they're just kind of I mean, it's anyone who's played the game for more than a day knows how to fight a spider ant. You just get them to turn around and you shoot them in the butt.
Right. What? Shoot them in the butt.
In the butt. So it's not that difficult. For that reason, we just gave Helab and Widowmaker. We just gave them a tie. So they're both ranked at. So they're both ranked there at 25th. So, there's nothing special about them. Moving up to get a slightly further into this, the next one after that is going to be Queen Tarantella and King Arakob.
Also, more spider ants.
Yeah. Yeah, and the notes just across all 4 of these, for the record, we just have big dumb spider ants, because that's all they are. They're just big dumb spider ants. Queen Tarantella can be kind of difficult. I mean, it's still a spider ant, but both of them, Queen Tarantella and King Arakob, they both hit fairly hard for spider ants. So
but they telegraph their attacks pretty easily, and it's not. The problem with Queen Tarantella is that her head, head armor shield thing is wider than an average spider ant's, so you can't shoot from the front to the ass. You legitimately have to go around her to get to the ass. Yeah.
So there's some, again, you can get loot piles from them, everything like that, but again, it's nothing that fancy, So I mean, they tend to give slightly more loot than Helab and Widowmaker, but I mean, even then, it's not like you're guaranteed to get anything really good out of it. It's kind of a bummer. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so again, we're gonna highlight some of their lowlights. They each got a 1 in uniqueness and 1s in X Factor.
Yeah.
So pretty rough. Nothing cool, nothing interesting. That's about it for them. Let's go ahead and move up the list. Next, we have Master McCloud. Master McCloud, you fight as you're heading into the... I just had the name of the location on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah. After you're done with the Iridium Fastness, or the Crimson Fastness. Yes. So yeah, there's that big scene where you're lured in there by Commandant Steele and everything like that, and she has Master McCloud fight you and everything like that. So first of all, I want to be straight up honest about this. We gave him a lot more of an X factor than we probably should have, just because the name Master McCloud is actually pretty cool sounding. I'm not gonna lie. If honestly, if like someone had told me like you could have switched those and they still would have been good. Like if you had told me that like the main guy that you were chasing throughout this entire thing was named Master McCloud instead of Commandant Steele, I would have been totally on board with that too. Like
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so he's got a total score of 13. 5 of those points coming from the X factor of sick name, bruh.
Yes, sick name, bruh.
That's it. So he just comes out there. He fires at you with an Iridian weapon. That can be annoying. He drops an Iridian weapon as well, which is the only
Iridian cannon, right?
Yeah, which is the only reason that he gets anything more than a 1 in rewards. But he does get a 1 in uniqueness because he's just a kind of... I wouldn't even put him on level with like a badass, Crimson Lance,
No, I mean
enemy.
he has a unique head.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like there's nothing really fancy looking about him or anything like that. He's just, I don't know. That's just kind of the way he is. So, again, he doesn't have any interesting movement or anything like that. I mean, the fact that he's one of the only bosses that uses an Iridium cannon, I mean, that could be kind of considered cool, but honestly, like, you stay far enough away, that's not hard to dodge. you know? So,
yeah, true story. To me, actually, more difficult than Master McCloud himself is the 2 badass lancemen that come out with him.
Yeah, yeah, I think I would agree with that, honestly. So, yeah. So
like usually, when I get to that part, I'll take out those guys first and then focus on him because he's less of a threat.
Yeah. So yeah, not too.
You want to take? Sorry, you want to take this next one and
yeah.
It's
okay.
So interesting.
This is so interesting. All right. So here's the thing: is that our next one is a boss. Yeah, we're calling it a boss. Keep in mind when we say boss, we refer to pretty much any named thing, more or less. Yeah. So this next one has a total score of 14. Okay. Here's the thing. They got a perfect score in one of the areas. They got a perfect 10 in rewards. The reason for that being is our next one is Slither. If you're not familiar with Slither is a unique boss that is a scythed.
Yeah.
So the only reason we're giving it a 10 is for a couple of things. First of all, it has a chance to give you the dove after you kill it, and that's the reward I think that you get also is the dove, isn't it?
Yeah. So the quest reward from the mission is the dove, and after playthrough 2, Slither has the chance to drop the dove.
Right. So the dove is really cool. If you're familiar with the Infinity from Borderlands 2, the dove is basically that same thing. It's a repeater pistol that does not use ammo. That's really pretty cool. If you're running like if you're running a Mordecai that's using pistol build, that's really, really cool.
And I'm going to stop Jeff right now because, spoiler alert, our going gun is on the dove. So we'll talk. We will get more in depth about it there. Just so you know, Slither got 1s and 2s on everything else, but a perfect 10 in rewards. If it wasn't for the fact that you'd get the dove, I think Slither would be at the bottom of the list.
Pretty close to it, at least. It would be right there along the spider ants at the very least.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
But yeah, seriously, it's a scythed, so it's not difficult. It's not unique. It literally, the only other thing it did not get a 1 in was the X Factor. It got a 2 for that because it's the coloring of Slither is actually kind of cool. It's like blue and gold. Which is like, it's just like,
it's pretty neat. Like with all the other earth tone colored scytheds, like having a blue one is pretty, I mean, it's not just blue, it's friggin' blue. It is, it's like Boise State football field blue.
Yeah, really. Like super blue.
That's a deep cut right there. Look it up.
If you haven't, look it up. So, all right. Go ahead on the next one then.
Yeah, so next one here we have Janus Cobb. Janus Cobb came in at a total of 17 points. The only really, really poor score got a 2 in uniqueness because he's basically not any different than fighting a bandit.
Yeah.
He is a little bit trickier to fight simply because of his special weapon, the meat grinder. The meat grinder is the loot that he is guaranteed to drop when you kill him. Gives you some extra. That gave him some extra points in rewards, and then we give him a few points in X Factor just because the story behind it is pretty cool. It's kind of interesting to have, he took over this town and his brother, and he kicked his brother out, and his brother Taylor wanted to take over, so Taylor gives you the mission of going and killing him. It's kind of interesting,
Yeah. So so the X Factor on that is pretty interesting. So
total of 17 points for Janus Cobb. Next one up, Jeff?
Yeah, so the next one that we have is One-Eyed Jack. So you got a total of 18, so just one more point above Janus Cobb. The interesting thing here is that he more or less kind of averaged himself out roughly-ish. So,
right.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the interesting thing on that. So his difficulty, all right, a little bit difficult. Uniqueness, not super unique. The rewards, though, are,
decent.
Decent. So he actually does have a chance.
Decent.
Mad decent for the Mad Jack. So
exactly.
Yeah. So the Mad Jack is actually a pretty cool weapon. So it's an explosive revolver. It's pretty nice. It has ricocheting bullets, which are actually really cool. And they do the only thing is that they do zigzags, which make it really hard to actually use. So it would be a better weapon, but for the fact that you have to you really got to shove that thing up some dude's nose to make sure you guarantee a hit.
Yeah.
So
which is fine, because typically when you're running, at least when I'm running specifically revolvers in this game, that's kind of what I'm doing anyway. If you're doing a Mordecai revolver build, I use it more as a handheld shotgun, like a one-handed shotgun, just in the face, blow,
Yeah.
So it doesn't bother me anyways. And same with Brick, because it ties in well with Brick's explosive tree. So, but the thing is that you're probably going to be pretty close to people anyways, because that's Brick's playstyle. So the Mad Jack's totally decent, nothing wrong with it at all. Decent reward from One-Eyed Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, like I said, just because of how One-Eyed Jack is, I don't know, he's kind of an interesting person, and that's why we decided to give him a little bit more for some of his stuff and everything like that. I mean, yes, he does look like just a basic psycho and everything like that, but his cool thing that we thought was really cool about him, and why we decided to give him some more points and everything like that, is that they are actually supplied by a source other than Marcus. Marcus, obviously, he's he's got his hands in everyone's pockets, and that's the thing. So it's just kind of a really interesting thing, and his story is really interesting. That like I said, Marcus, Marcus gets
Marcus
upset.
Is basically the sole supplier of all weaponry on Pandora, and this guy has the friggin' stones to subvert Marcus Kincaid and get his weapons elsewhere, which is apparently a big enough, detriment to the market and everything that Marcus has to put out a hit on this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, they're costing me a significant amount of money. I can't have this. It'd be better to have them dead.
Yeah. So if you're a threat to Marcus, you done messed up.
Yeah. So we gave him some extra points in X Factor there just because of that. Just because he has the stones to take on Marcus Kincaid, the weapon, the what is that Nick Cage movie, God of War or whatever, where he's a huge weapon supplier. Marcus is that, but to all of Pandora. So, and this guy's I'm not having that. So, and gets all of his weapons from Torg. Yeah, even more badass.
Yeah. So, So, really interesting though. Even though you can't see it, the story is that he does only have one eye and that he lost it in a poker game, which is kind of badass. So anyway, so yeah, really kind of like I said, really interesting persona for him. So, Drew, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so next here we have the Roid Rage Psycho, which you fight in, wow, I can't remember any environment names, but anyway, it's pretty early on in the story. You're looking for the keys to access the mine area after leaving the arid Badlands, so you gotta go and fight the Roid Rage Psycho. Pretty average scores across the board, nothing super exciting, nothing great, nothing terrible. Just generally pretty average. Ended up tying with One-Eyed Jack with a score of 18. Got a couple extra points in X Factor because of the setting and the environment. When you're fighting the Roid Rage Psycho, it's like a cage match, like you're in the octagon or something like that.
Yeah, really.
The Roid Rage Psycho, got a few points dinged in uniqueness because it is literally just a big psycho. Difficulty is pretty average because of the fact that you can pretty much just kite around the thing and just huck grenades at it and shoot and like, you know, throw a turret in the middle and you know, keep it around there and it'll shoot at it, and it's really not a super difficult fight.
No.
Until you need to like reload or stop moving for any reason.
Yeah. So it does get a little bit more difficult at that point, and you do have some of the midget psychos running around and everything like that. And that can be kind of a pain too, but I mean, they should be on level with you, so they're not that difficult. But yeah, you know, like it is kind of a cage match. The lights are all blinky and everything like that. There's like some red lighting in there too. It's really interesting. So it is kind of dark and creepy, and the fact that it's just this one gigantic psycho that just has all these other midget psychos around is really weird, you know. Like,
yeah, it's just a really interesting, unique environment and setting. Also, just super badass that the keys that you get are fingers. That's just sick. I don't know how that. I mean, it like you scan the fingers to have access and everything. That's fun. You get a decent amount of loot. Nothing named. Or nothing unique or anything like that, but a decent pile of stuff around after you kill the Roid Rage Psycho.
Yeah.
So
and then even though it's not technically from him, you know, you get, you know, usually like the midgets will drop like a thing or two or whatever. So by the time you're done in that arena specifically, you do end up getting a fair amount of loot, you know.
Yeah, it's still like fighting the midgets is still considered part of the boss fight to us. So I love how this lined up. So this is Jeff's soapbox boss.
Okay.
Jeff, take it away.
Okay. So Mad Mel. He's a thing.
What a dick.
Cow. I cannot stand Mad Mel. First of all, he almost perfectly averaged out himself, which is the really interesting thing. So actually he did average out himself like entirely.
Yeah, he's the only perfectly average enemy in the game, coming in with a score of 20 out of a possible 40.
Yeah, we don't like to go through the numbers of every single one because just hearing the numbers are boring, but I feel that it is important for you to understand this. So Mad Mel gets an 8 in difficulty. Anyone who's tried fighting Mad Mel knows how much of a pain it is to fight this dude. It's just so annoying.
Especially solo. Like, it's already difficult enough, like, with multiple people, but solo is incredibly difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. So fighting him, you know, for difficulty, we gave him an 8. For uniqueness, we gave him a 10. This is literally the only vehicle boss in the vanilla game at all. The fact that he also has this sick thing that looks like a runner, but it's like an old, like, steam engine train looking thing, that's actually really, really cool. The problem is, that A, he got a 1 in rewards, okay? He doesn't give you anything. He gives you get nothing. you get access to the rest of the game. That is what you get. That is your reward.
Yep.
Okay.
But isn't that its own reward, Jeff?
No, it's not. No.
Man.
No. Like it is not, all right? So it's also not the friends we made along the way. So
fine.
So the X Factor, we also just gave him a 1, just because he's the worst. You guys, he's the worst. Like, he's just the worst.
So bad.
because like here's the thing. The intention is that you've been running around fighting stuff in runners the entire time, which is difficult enough to do. Like, it's hard to fight things in the runners, okay? It's kind of difficult. Like, the gameplay was geared towards being on foot and shooting with guns, and it excels at that, especially for the time that it was made. It does not excel at vehicle-to-vehicle combat. It doesn't even excel at vehicle-to-anything combat when you're in a vehicle. So
yeah, that's true. It is. Like, quick sidebar, it kind of sucks to be able to hit something and kill it instantly, regardless of size.
Yeah, so you either do that, and then you're like, and you get like garbage XP for doing that because it takes away a substantial amount of your XP for doing it, or you fight them with the gun, which still takes away your XP and is difficult to do because if you're slightly off, it won't do that, or you can track them, which is still hard to do. But like the whole thing, and then so it wants you to fight this guy in a vehicle. But there's like 3 other vehicles going around at the same time, and there's things that are on foot, and he does so much more damage to you, and it's hard to turn in that thing. Like, it's hard to use the runners. It's really difficult to use them. So you either do that, or once it blows up, and then you got to go back to the beginning of the fight again, and then you stand up there on the ledge, like every one of us did, and you just shoot at him from a distance, which is still hard because there's still bullet travel time, so you got to lead your shot, and if you don't, then you're not going to hit him, and if you get too far up there, then he's just going to shoot at you, and like 2 of his rockets will take you out, so it's just the worst. It is literally the worst.
This is the best, so far, the best soapboxy style rants we've had on the show so far. Easily, by far. So anyways, average score of 20 for Mad Mel. No loot. It just sucks overall. So
look here real quick. Okay, you want to know? So think about this. Have there been other vehicle boss fights in the Borderlands franchise since then? Yes. Have they been prominent? No, not in any way, shape, or form. And when they made them so that they were easily doable on foot. In fact, when you go and fight Motor Mama in the second game, it cuts you off so you can't actually even do it in a vehicle at all.
Right.
So, it's the worst, you guys.
All right, next on the list we have Bleeder, which is a unique scythed that you fight to clear out of a... I believe the premise of the mission is a guy buys a house, but there's a gross scythed in there. And as the name implies, it flies and it bleeds, so... That's why it got anything more than a 1 in X Factor.
It's really disgusting looking.
It just kind of grosses. Like, there's a lot of blood and gore in this game, but seeing that thing, you're just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So get some points for uniqueness because it flies constantly. Other scytheds cannot fly indefinitely, but Bleeder can for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Bleeder comes in with a total of 21 points. Let's see. The loot that you get from the mission killing it is the Nailer, which is a pretty decent sniper rifle made by Dahl. It's kind of cool. It's not a bad reward, and then there's a decent little loot pool, I believe, as well when you kill Bleeder. So not bad.
Yep. It does have an occasional drop from him. So yeah, its main thing is just that it has, the red flavor text is just that it has slightly increased damage and it's semi-automatic. So, as you can find on the wiki, the Nailer, it has its parts restrictions, prevent it from being really, really good.
Yeah.
So
kind of. But anyway, so Bleeder's slightly better than Mad Mel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, you can take the next one here.
All right, so the next one is a very early one that I think we all probably know and love, which is Scar. So Scar is actually tied with Bleeder. We gave him a 5 for difficulty. That's kind of his at where he averaged out at. Like I said, 21, so a little bit better than average. But that's the main thing is that Scar is not difficult. He's not too difficult, but the thing is that he is, when you first play through the game, like Scar is like kind of a task, honestly, like the first time you go to fight him.
Yeah, so what we mean here is not first playthrough, but like when you first start playing Borderlands and you go to fight Scar, you better be loaded for bear. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, really.
It's kind of a difficult fight. Once you have played through the games as many times as we have, keep your distance.
Shoot him in the mouth.
Right. And then he becomes significantly easier.
Yeah. The interesting thing is actually where he got most of his points was X Factor, and that's because of the story and the lore that's around him. You'll see that a lot. I know it might be kind of, to some of you guys it might seem kind of like cheating or whatever, but like we like lore and we like story and everything. And to those of you that have played through Borderlands 2 and everything like that, you'll also know that Scar is responsible for the death of TK Baja's wife, and then he goes back to get his vengeance and is also responsible for blinding him and his missing leg. Like, that's...
Yeah, now the missing leg thing is the only thing we know about in Borderlands 1, but like when you go and listen to the recordings and everything in Borderlands 2, it's big skag named Scar killed, what is his wife's name?
I don't even
Marion.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Marion. So, and then he goes back for his vengeance, and it's Scar blinded me and ate my leg.
Yeah,
it's
the whole
so
thing.
Good.
So, I can't believe I didn't see this sooner. But like messing around, looking on the wiki and stuff like that too. This is actually the story of Moby Dick, because yeah, it takes his leg. It's like the one thing that he once killed and everything like that. Here's the thing: is like I can't believe this, but even Baja spelled backwards is Ahab.
Holy crap!
Yeah, I know, right? Game's been out for years, and you and I are just now realizing this. So I feel like we almost need to give him like more points for that.
Yeah, really. Like I all of a sudden feel super unqualified to be hosting this podcast now. But so Scar has 21 points, ties with Bleeder, and then also our next one, which is... Sorry, did you have anything else on Scar, or are you good?
No, I mean, like I said, we might have been a little bit... It might have sounded like we were being a little bit easygoing on Scar as opposed to like some of the spider ants. Look, the reason is Scar has a really... Yeah, he's a skag, we get it. But he's got some cool design features. He's got like the sword and the knife sticking out of him and the psycho buzz axe and everything like that. Like, it does speak to, it's like, oh, this is legitimately a badass skag. Not like a badass skag, but a badass skag.
yeah, true story. All right, so like we said, Bleeder and Scar both tied with our next entry, Bonehead. Bonehead we are also all familiar with. You fight early on, and Bonehead got a lot of points in difficulty and rewards, less so in uniqueness and X Factor. The uniqueness, he's just another psycho, in our opinion. Nothing, or bandit or whatever, and there's just nothing crazy about him. Difficulty, Bonehead's friggin' hard when you're fighting him on level. Or slightly under level.
Yeah.
Really difficult. It's like, there's been many a times when I'll be playing through and I'll get to his mission at like level 8 or 9 or whatever, and he's I think like level 10 or 11 or something like that, and I legitimately need to go and do other things and level up before I go and fight Bonehead. Yeah.
So,
and got extra points and rewards because you get the Bone Shredder, which is a really, really pretty fantastic little SMG. That is a double anarchy SMG or something like that, right?
Yeah. So and the nice thing about it is that pretty much early in the game, when you get to that point, the only thing that you really need to worry about is you're just trying to do more damage, because you're not really speccing into anything super specific yet. So if you have like any low-level skill that boosts weapon damage or bullet damage or gun damage or anything like that, this is going to be something that you're going to be able to carry with you for a little ways and make some good use out of it. So
yeah, so much so, in fact, that speedrunners have been known to run to look for specific builds of the Bone Shredder in order to quickly progress through the game. So it's a really interesting weapon, really pretty great weapon, and like Jeff said, if you're firing bullets, you probably want the Bone Shredder at least for a little while.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. So Anyway, this takes us on to our next one, which is going to be Reaver. So Reaver is tied with both Scar and Reaver is actually a little bit higher than them. He's got 23. The last three have gotten to 21. So we're starting to get up there a little bit now. So he's really not that difficult. I mean, he has a sniper rifle, so he can do some decent damage to you and everything like that. He's got a lot of other enemies around him because he's in Crom's Canyon and everything like that. I think there's usually also at least one badass bruiser or psycho or something like that usually spawns in that area.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that makes it kind of difficult. And then there's a lot of smaller ones too. And the thing is that they make it so that there's kind of a hallway, made of the canyon to kind of get to him. And so he can do some decent damage against you. It's not super difficult. Again, it's reused assets, so not terribly unique. There's a couple of really interesting things though, which is that we actually, where he scored most of his points was in the rewards, because he does give the Reaver's Edge, which is pretty cool. It's got it's a standard sniper rifle, and as far as damage and everything like that goes. But the really nice thing is that it has a super long zoom, long. So there's only one other gun in the game that has more, and it's the Cyclops. So really difficult to use at close range, but it's nice to be able to hit things from like way over there.
Yeah, using
nice.
Using the Reaver's Edge, for example, to kill Crom, pretty handy.
Yeah, really handy.
Pretty handy.
Yeah, so if you go and do that before killing Crom, it actually really, really helps. So kind of a nice thing there, especially given the area that you get it in, and you can carry that for a little while. So it's the thing that we liked about Reaver and why he got most of his points though is just because he actually, as part of Crom's gang, and the way that he did that was he was by killing his adoptive father.
Yeah.
So which is pretty messed up. So it's a fun story to go through, and if you really it's one of those things where I did the quest several times, playing the game over and over. And then one time I actually stopped and actually read the quest. I was like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty dark. So
yeah, it's pretty messed up if you pay attention to the story. Like we said, we're big lore and story nerds, so he got a perfect 10 in X Factor for that. It is, you almost feel bad for the guy, when you're killing him, because it's like you clearly have severe issues that need to be worked out. But instead, we're just going to end you, We're just going to off you and take your sweet-ass gun.
Yeah,
thanks, bye.
Yep, pretty much. So.
All right, so that's pretty much it for Reaver. Coming up next at 26 points, we have King Wee Wee. King Wee Wee is one of my favorite bosses in the game, simply because he's the only midget that you fight in the game that is a boss. He's a unique character model, and he's got a crown. He's just cool. Got most of his points in uniqueness and rewards. Uniqueness, just like I said, really interesting setup there. Rewards drops King Wee Wee's super booster, really great health regenerative shield, probably one of my favorite shields in the game. Yeah, absolutely. So, and it also, it increases your health by 15% right off the bat, and then it regenerates it really quick. To give an example, it's similar to if you had another shield that had the very quick health regeneration perk on it. Yeah, which are stupid hard to find. So, it's better off just King Wee Wee and taking the super booster. And then averaged out with a middle of the road score of 5 in X Factor. He's got a sweet crown, and he's a bandit king. That's just super cool. Also not to be overlooked when it comes to rewards for King Wee Wee, he has a red chest in his apartment. What do you even call that thing? In his domicile. Yeah, it is hovel. I mean, it's a little. It's literally like a what are those things called? Anyway, it's like a shack.
It's like a shipping container, right?
Yeah. So it's just kind of stashed away there. He actually ended up doing better than I expected. But I guess I shouldn't be surprised considering it's a guaranteed drop of the super booster, and he's just a cool little dude. So next, perfect. One of Jeff's favorite bosses in the game.
Yeah, actually, I think it's probably one of both of our favorite bosses in the game.
Oh, agreed.
So, our next one that we have up is with a score of 27 is Baron Flint. You're getting towards the end of the game, you run into Baron Flint. Another one that got a perfect 10 score. We gave him, again, a perfect 10 in the X Factor. The reason being is that we gave him that for both the story and for the things that he says. So I don't know, like we don't have a lot of guys that we actually fight in the game that you actually hear the dialogue from. And he's just like so cool and calm and collected about who he is as a bandit king at this point that it's really interesting. But like I said, he has some really interesting stuff that he tells you because the area where you're actually going to fight him was at the Salt Flats or whatever it is.
Yeah, the Salt Flats.
Anyway, so where you go to fight him, it's like the entire time, it takes so long to actually get to him, and he's saying stuff the entire time. Like, like one of the things he says to you is, I'm gonna try and talk like him. It's gonna be difficult for me. No, don't even. Drew's giving me a hard no on that. So
no,
we're just
no,
going with no.
I'll take it. I feel like I can do a decent. So
I was looking at the second in-game quote from him.
Oh, okay.
So,
see, I was actually looking at like the last two because there's some of my
go for it then.
The last three. So yeah, like I think my favorite from him is a guest. Please make yourself at home. My men will be with you shortly. Never let it be said that the great Baron Flint is short on hospitality. It's so good.
It is.
It's so. This is going to be a super deep cut, but the few people who get this reference are going to be super stoked to hear it. If any of you have ever watched The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
Oh, okay? Yes.
There is
so good.
There's a recurring character in the series whose name is Pete. And Pete and Baron Flint have very similar speech patterns and quirks and everything. And just so like that's all you got to do if you want to do a Baron Flint impression is just imitate Pete from Briscoe County Jr. Check out that series. Hella good.
Yeah. Do those other two quotes, the ones before that real quick, because they're both really well written as well.
Yeah, so there's, "You've come. Excellent. I've been looking forward to this. My men are impatient. But I shall savor this until your blood has soaked the sand and your carcass is nothing but food for Rack. Come get some." and then finally there's, "I see you've beaten a path to my door. How could I turn you away when you're so doggedly eager for death? Do come in. Enter my humble abode." Fantastic.
So good.
Perfect 10 in X Factor for Baron Flint, just because he's the best, classiest shit talker in the game.
He really is. Like everyone else in the game, like you've been hearing this, and that's the point. I get it. You've been hearing this super low IQ bandit speech the entire time. You just by the time you've gotten to Baron Flint, 5,000 times you've heard, "You looking to get shot?" know.
Yeah. And him, it's it feels like a legit, this has been building to something. We've got a real boss that we're taking on here. This guy knows what he's doing. He's got some intelligence. It makes a lot of sense, his setup, the super tall thing that you got to climb all the way, and he's got a pair of badass dudes that you got to fight at the bottom and everything. Mm-hmm. It's overall just great. Really well set up, really well done.
So I'm gonna say something here, and maybe we're the ones to discover this. All right. So Drew, can you tell me who played Briscoe County Jr.?
Oh yeah, it was Bruce Campbell.
Okay. What is the gun that Baron Flint drops?
It's the... Oh, my God. Oh, it's the boomstick. Oh! That's interesting. Holy cow. Okay, so quick... Okay, so the boomstick is it's a reference to the Evil Dead movies. There's a it's a shotgun that I believe no, it's not attached to him. The chainsaw's attached to his hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyways, so the boomstick is Ash's shotgun. I believe at the beginning of the third movie, he goes, and this is my boomstick, and he thrusts it in the air. Anyways, so yeah, Bruce Campbell played Ash in the Evil Dead movies, wielded the boomstick. Bruce Campbell played Briscoe County Jr., and as I alluded to earlier, Pete in the Briscoe County series has a very similar speech pattern and everything to Baron Flint. So
maybe we're reading way too much into that, but if
there's definitely a possibility.
There's definitely a possibility. I may make that a goal now to look for that story. I might have to finally actually see if I can try getting in touch with the Borderlands writers and see what I can find out. Be like, hey guys, just real quick question.
Right. Quick sidebar, he was voiced by a guy named Ian Sinclair, who did not play Pete in Briscoe County Jr.
Okay, so at least that's that mystery solved, but still.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not the exact same guy, but it sounds similar enough to where it's good, so.
Yeah, so.
That dude has done a lot of anime voices, though. Holy smokes.
Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of crossover between the Borderlands series and anime, or just, video games and anime in general. Anyway, moving on, because we spent a lot of time on Baron Flint at this point.
Because he's awesome. Oh, that same dude did the voice of Jimbo Hodunk.
Oh, that's fun. So, anyway, so next coming up, we tied with Baron Flint, and I'm sure people will appreciate this, is Sledge. So, Sledge did not get a perfect score anywhere, unlike Baron Flint, but Sledge did have some higher scoring numbers. So he also got a 27. So he does get an 8 for difficulty because in the small arena and everything like that, he has this huge shield. Okay, that's enough of a pain already. But the damage that his hammer does is really difficult, and the fact that he can launch you both with his hammer and with his shotgun both is really, it's kind of a pain. It's hard to deal with and everything like that. So
yeah, it's super super difficult. I mean, it's another one of those ones where the fight is significantly easier once you've done it as many times as we have, because Sledge has that big ass shield, and you just know going into that area, load up on shocky weapons. It's make sure you've got a shock grenade and a shock, get all the shock stuff that you can get, and just to get rid of that shield at first, and then switch to your primary, real big doing damage weapons and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So not too bad there, but I mean, it's difficult enough. Especially, it is really tough too when you're doing it on single player, I will say. So
yeah, agreed. Because your main focus is on him, and then there's still his minions and everything running around you trying to take you out with normal weapons, and there's 3 or 4 of them. I think that can make it tricky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Uniqueness. He's a bandit, but I mean, he's not like any other bandit in the game. That was his other really high scoring area. So. He's got a really unique look. He actually does get his own splash screen and everything like that. He's got the sick hammer. He's got the sick helmet. He's got that little bit of dialogue that he does when, you come in, everything like that. He's like, make Sledge angry, just all that stuff. So, yeah, the fact that he also rose to where he did as far as a Bandit King when there's, definitely something going on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Is actually pretty cool. I just imagine that when he just wandered out from somewhere and it was just this mine now. Bah!
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that we have listed in the notes here that he's just a big meathead, but he's the ruler of the entire Badlands.
Yeah.
So, which is super impressive.
Yeah.
Like, it's been building to this one guy the whole time, and then once you kill him, then you get entrance to the Dull Headland. Like, you show up on the planet, and they're like, yo, you can't leave this area or progress or go anywhere or anything else because this is the biggest threat in the entire Badlands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you finally see this guy, and you're like, oh, this is the kind of... It gives you an idea of the kind of world that you're in, because literally he's not intelligent hardly at all, no. But he's just big enough and angry enough and willing to kill enough that he like controls this whole area. So
dude must do a lot of oh god, I just lost the word of delegating. Like Sledge is not a brilliant man, but he knows how to hire and delegate.
Mm-hmm. You can do that. You can do anything. So
yeah, exactly.
Obviously, for his rewards, we gave him a little bit there too, because you do get Sledge's shotgun, which it's a mixed bag with Sledge's shotgun. We'll be honest about that. So
yeah, it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, but it can be made really, really useful. And honestly, if you get that thing, like I said, it just up in somebody's face, you're going to do some heavy damage. And honestly, as long as we've talked about it a little bit, one of the funnest things to do is just to keep Sledge's shotgun for a hot minute and just keep it all the way to get to Baron Flint, because then you could use it to launch Baron Flint off the edge of his tower.
yeah, that's good times. Because he just goes, wah!
Yeah.
Off he goes.
Anyway, so...
Have you noticed a quick sidebar, have you noticed a similarity between some of those weapons? Like a unique weapon, if it's not great, it's still pretty friggin' good if you just shove it in a dude's face.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because they all have the unique, like, spreading out and doing weird things. Like TK's Wave, not great. Get up in a dude's face. Like the one-eyed Jack or the Mad Jack, not great. Put it in a dude's face.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Any weapon can be made good in Borderlands if you just stick it in a man's face.
Absolutely. So
except for combat rifles.
Yeah. So,
anyways,
all right, moving along. So, Drew, you want to take our next one?
Yeah. So the next one we have is Rakinishu. Rakinishu is one that you're going to encounter. Okay. I really dig Rakinishu. We gave Rakinishu has decent scores across the board. The lowest being in uniqueness, because it is simply a large rack. It's like if you took a badass rack and then stretched it out like 20% maybe.
Yeah.
So nothing crazy. It is difficult because it does shoot the it's like fireballs or explosives or something like that. It's
fireballs,
kind of a pain in the ass. Rewards are mad decent though, because it's guaranteed to drop the cracked sash, which is a really cool little shield. It's again one of my favorites. The named shields in Borderlands 1 most of the time are pretty good, between like the cracked sash and the super booster and shit like that. Really pretty decent. And then Rakinishu, I know that I said that uniqueness is not anything great, but so you're going to be surprised to hear that they get a higher score in X Factor than uniqueness, simply because you have no idea that's coming.
Yeah, the first time you see him, he's just out of nowhere.
Right,
so.
You're just running around collecting echo journal entries for Tannis, and then surprise, mother racker, like it's there,
Perfect.
And you're like, what is this shit?
Yeah. So, between that and getting the cracked sash and everything like that, for those of you that don't know, you may have seen this drop and just not realized that it was a special thing, because it doesn't actually have any red flavor text to it.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that it has a crazy fast recharge. Its recharge, it recharges in less than a second. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
So it's really, really cool for that. At higher levels, you can drop higher versions of it and everything like that. And it has a shorter recharge delay and has a shorter recharge delay and rate than any other shield. So, and there's no, it's just cool, it's super cool. So, so
that's pretty much all there is on Rakinishu, really.
Yeah. So moving up, and we didn't really intend this, but this one's a tie as well. We actually have a tie for the other big rack in the game, Mothrack. So, I have died so many times to this thing. So,
yeah.
If you don't know the strats for fighting Mothrack, it's really, really difficult. So is he just a big rack? Yeah, but I mean, yes. Well, yes, but actually no. So
right.
He's a big rack, but I mean, when we say big, I mean, we're huge, like gargantuan.
We're talking like one of the few like colossal style enemies in the game.
Yeah. So yeah, just really, really big, and scary that way. The tough thing too is that because of how high up he is and everything like that, he's also really tough to deal with, because it's hard to land hits on him. So the difficulty is really there. Honestly, even now it still takes me a while to actually kill him, just because my preferred method is when he's shooting stuff at you, which is again really, really cool. Like he shoots fire, and I think doesn't he also do a lightning attack or something like that too? Maybe.
I don't think that there's any lightning. I think it's just all fire. But
okay, either way, like he. My preferred method is to get underneath like the carport and just like pop out and shoot him when I can.
Yeah, that's
it. So
that's all you can do.
Yeah. So that's about the easiest way that you can do it and everything like that. It's still really difficult.
Yeah, so. Quick. I mean, like I said, we're not going over a ton of numbers, but just so you know, Mothrack gets a perfect 10 in difficulty and uniqueness.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, you just gave a Raganishu a 6 in uniqueness because it's just a big rack. Okay, yeah, but Mothrack's goddamn massive and has that really unique fire attack and just the fact that it's the coloring, and it's super high, and you gotta lure it in with these flames, which is hilarious. And so that's kind of where we're at with Mothrack. And decent little reward as far as completing the mission is you get the blister.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a pretty decent little shotgun. I'm not gonna be upset about getting the blister. Yeah. The corrosive damage that it does comes in handy. So, and you get a decent amount of loot from killing Mothrack also. So
yeah, the only thing that's a pain is that because of how big it is and how high up it is, it spreads its loot everywhere, which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, it does suck. It's like spreading salt from way up here.
Yes. Exactly.
Shit just goes everywhere. All right, next up on the list we have Mo and Marley. Mo and Marley also tied with Mothrack and Rakanishu, coming in at 28 points. They get a 10 in difficulty because they are both essentially badass skags, but badder, and they're both elemental. And the elemental pairing works perfectly because one strips your shield and the other burns your flesh. Big pain in the balls.
Not to mention that they can spawn with like other stuff, with like spitter skags that also do like corrosive and stuff like that.
Right. And there's always like, whenever I'm fighting Mo and Marley, I try to have the area that I'm fighting in be as small as possible, because if you start to run around too much, you're just gonna spawn more and more skags, which admittedly can be handy. Like sometimes I'll do that intentionally if I'm getting pretty low on health and I know I'm going to go into fight for your life mode. You'll go and you'll spawn a few smaller skags intentionally because they're going to be an easier kill typically than trying to take out one of the bigger, than trying to take out Mo or Marley. So perfect 10 in difficulty. Uniqueness. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just between the environment and what the creature typing and everything like that, they're really, really difficult. I mean, even when you're like know what you're doing and everything like that, it's hard to find a good method to like solidly kill them quickly.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, like I said, you and I have developed pretty rock solid strategies and everything for killing Sledge and for killing Scar and everything, and the Roid Rage Psycho
and everything. Yeah,
right. Mo and Marley, it's just super tough. So one of the only perfect 10s actually on the difficulty for all the I mean, it's just the only perfect tense in difficulty: Moe and Marley and Mothrak. That's it. Those are the only two.
So, but yeah, no. So it's really interesting that way. Still at the end of the day, the reason they're as lowly scored as they are is just because they're still just skags. They're not much different from a badass fire skag or a badass shock skag.
Right. The only reason they got an 8 in uniqueness is because there's two of them and they're always elemental, and that just makes the fight more interesting.
Yeah, they're always elemental. They work together like really well and everything like that. And the environment that they're in makes it even more difficult to do that. So
right. I mean, as far as named enemies goes, it's only them and Hans and Franz, which are like a duo.
Yeah. So that and two of the spider ants.
The
spider ants as well. But still, like
those don't count because they're at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, I know. So anyway. Moving on up, we have
to the east side.
To the east side. The next one we have is the Rack Hive. So, again, no perfect scores in here, but a lot of really interesting things. So, a couple of things in it are the fact that we gave it a lot for the X Factor. That was one of its high scoring areas, just because the first time you see this thing, it's like you've seen where racks come out of before. You've seen like these, like mounds where with the holes and everything like that, and you're like, oh, okay, that's just where they come out of. And then all of a sudden you see one get up, and you're like, oh shit,
shit just got real.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to see that. And the first time you see it, it's really cool and everything like that. And the fact that you know that something crazy is about to happen because Angel tells you that. She's like, this is going to be your most difficult challenge that you've faced so far. And then you see this thing, and you're like, oh, man, and it's just huge. So
to be fair, that woman says that like 6-7 times throughout the course of the game.
But it's always true in the story.
Because that's how video games work.
Yeah, I'm aware. But I mean, fine, fair enough, but still, my point still stands.
It's pretty difficult at that point. Well, okay, wait, actually, she says it's your most difficult task yet. Is it really, though? We give it a 6 in difficulty, and we give Sledge an 8.
Yeah, that's true, but it has that appearance to it, though. It looks like it.
Yeah, because, going back to the thing about Mothrak, Mothrak and the Rack Hive are two of the only colossal enemies in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they look like they're gonna mess you up. They look like they're about to wreck your day. They're about to end. They're about to end this man's whole career.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's both of them. If it wasn't for the fact that Mothrak, if physics actually worked in the Borderlands world, if Mothrak landed on you, you're dead. If the Rack Hive just kicks its own legs out from under it, you're probably dead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
even if it doesn't directly crush you, the shockwave that it's gonna send out from it landing is gonna launch you into friggin' space.
Yeah, really.
A giant in Skyrim.
What? Anyway, yeah. The other thing is that this thing drops so much loot.
Yeah.
It drops so much loot. It's really handy. Is all of it good? No, but I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time where I fought the Rack Hive. That's not a word. So I don't think there's ever been a time where I fought the Rack Hive and afterwards I didn't pick up at least one thing for use, not to sell, but to actually use.
Yeah. So, usually I find at least 2 things to where I'm like, that's going in the backpack for a little while.
Yeah. So, so between that, I mean, the character design on it's really interesting too, with its whole face thing going on.
Yeah, you guys know what we're talking about.
So,
if you don't, why are you listening to this? Go play that game instead of listening to us talk about it.
Yeah,
and
really.
But otherwise, you know about the Rack Hive face.
So, secondly, we're going to talk about its butt. if you haven't done this, you need to, just for the experience of it. If you shoot the rack hive enough times in the butt, you can get it to poop. That's just a thing, all right?
Which is why we give it so many points in X Factor. It's
we
colossal.
Really did.
You can shoot it in the butt and make it poop, and it's got a vagina face. That's just so many. It has so many things going on for it.
Here's the thing, literally, and I'm challenging like any other developer to do this. Any other developer, put that in your game. See how everyone else reacts to it. You can't. This is you would not have been able to do this in any other game. Like, It just works here.
Yep.
So
exactly. So next up on the list, we're getting towards the top of the list here. We've got the top 5. Tied with the Rack Hive is Ninetoes, one of my favorite enemies in the game. He's the first named boss, and he sets the tone of the game. You walk into there, you see the safety fist signs, you see, his splash screen says also he has 3 balls.
Mm.
Just, he gives you the suck it motion, It's just, that's Borderlands in a nutshell. Like, you know what you're in for. Relatively difficult, mainly because of Pinky and Digit that you fight with him. Quick sidebar again. I know I've done that like a few times in this episode, but like the reason, so we haven't listed Hans and Franz and we haven't listed Pinky and Digit because they're not the boss that you're fighting in that area. They're like a mini boss. Like, Hans and Franz just happen to be there protecting Baron Flint. Same with Pinky and Digit and Ninetoes. Like, you're not going there to kill them. That's not
Correct.
the goal. So that's why they're not listed. Anyways, so Pinky and Digit make the Ninetoes battle pretty difficult, I would say. They got a 7 on that. Ninetoes gets a 10. A 10 on rewards because you get the clipper. Jeff and I, when we were developing this document, we're talking about the clipper, and there's nobody that it doesn't work for, right? Because it's a fire damage dealing melee pistol. Okay? Fire damage, that covers Lilith. Melee covers Brick. And
or Mordecai.
Mordecai. And the fact that it's a pistol covers Mordecai. And it shoots bullets, so Roland.
Yeah, really.
It's a great beginner weapon for anybody in the game. Really love it. Yeah, perfect 10 in rewards for Ninetoes.
Yeah, they designed it perfectly to work really, really well for whoever. And as far as the difficulty goes, here's the other thing that I think is really interesting too. Because he did score pretty high in difficulty too. Uniqueness was his lowest thing. That's what really held him back. Uniqueness, it's just because he does look like a generic bandit mostly. So the other big thing is that as far as the difficulty goes, and I don't know this for sure, but I'm speculating pretty heavily here because it just seems to make sense. It seems like the whole reason why you have to go and get the ladyfinger is because for a first boss fight, they wanted to give you something that they knew was going to be able to take on that fight.
Yeah, I agree. If somehow Ninetoes was a boss later in the game, I feel like it would be a much more difficult fight.
Yeah. It's difficult enough and everything like that, and like Drew said, especially with Pinky and Digit, and that adds a whole other layer to it and everything, but the fact that they give you a unique weapon to even go into that fight with kind of tells you a little bit about that fight.
Right, because you literally can't even fight him until you've got the ladyfinger. So
yeah. And
it's really, they're like, look, it's dangerous to go alone, take this, you know?
Yeah, and as weird as this sounds, and do not beat up on me for this. Like, do not at me on Twitter about this one. But, like, here's the thing, is that in similar veins to the first level of Mario and the first level in Mega Man X, where it's very apparent you know what you're supposed to be doing as far as, like, how the gameplay goes, because it teaches you through those first couple of screens. This is very similar in that same way. This first boss fight tells you everything that you need to know about the game. Okay, you shoot the big tough guy. You have some sort of a strategy because he may have other guys with him that are helping to protect him. When you do that, you get unique weaponry, and you use that to suit whatever playstyle you have, whether it's melee or fire damage or high fire rate stuff.
Yep.
It is a very well built boss fight for explaining how this game is supposed to go, and I really applaud them for the way they did it.
Yeah, which is why Ninetales comes in as high as he does on the list.
So yeah. Anyway, I forget who was going. Is it my turn or your turn?
It's your turn.
Okay. So next we have in the number 4 position, we have no more ties, by the way. For number 4, we have Crom. So Crom comes in with 30 points. So we're getting pretty high up there at this point. So Crom has a lot going on for him. So Crom, he did not get any perfect scores, but he did get a 9 in rewards. So, man, Crom's sidearm is so good for like so many different things. So, just the amount of lightning damage that you do and everything like that, and especially since you're going to be running into a lot more guys with shields, like, because most of the time after you fight Crom, one of the next things that you can go and do is go to Old Haven.
Yeah.
And you really need the shield tearing ability that Crom's sidearm gives you. It's really good for Lilith and everything like that. It works out really well. Not to mention the other really high areas is that Crom is actually a very unique boss fight. We talked about Mad Mel and how he's in a vehicle and everything like that. Crom is like one of the only ones that's actually, he's the only one that's in a turret, isn't he?
The only one, yeah.
So, and you have 2 choices when you fight Crom. He can be a little bit easier if you have the Reaver's Edge and you're just sniping him from a distance. Yes, understood. But if you don't have that, and if you're not using it, you have to run all the way up to this guy, and you have to, get close enough to where you can actually shoot him from a reasonable distance. You can do it with other sniper rifles, sure, but the fact that he's laying into you this entire time with his big turret that he has, which, again, is kind of preceded because the area just before you get to Crom's Canyon has like those 3 turrets outside of it before you go through the doorway, big pain, everything like that. And then if that weren't bad enough, it's not just like you're going and trying to duck and cover and everything like that the entire time, but he's also got all these enemies that are popping out and everything. So it's like, yeah, you can't just hide in this one place. I'm going to send guys after you to try and get them.
Well, and it's also the fact that like the turret is not just it's not like a machine gun turret. It's a triple rocket launching turret. So like there's splash damage from the explosions, which make it a real bit. So like you can hide behind a rock, you're still going to take some amount of damage. It's a big pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So like with all that said, you would think that it'd be super difficult. It's really not hard, but it makes it interesting. It's like we're going another 90s deep cut TV reference here. Y'all watched American Gladiators and the gauntlet at the end.
We know you did.
Yeah, there's always during the gauntlet there was the one gladiator at the top like shooting at you with the tennis ball gun and everything. That's what it's like, and you gotta duck, dive, dip, dodge, and dive, and whatever, all around these things, and it's really fun. We also gave Crom quite a few points in the X Factor because, man, he's a dick.
Yeah, he is.
In the splash screen, he kills a claptrap unit.
Yeah,
and then points the finger gun at you like, you next.
Yeah. Yeah, really. So as far as bandits go, I mean, yeah, he's just another human enemy, but like I said, he uses the turret, and he looks really unique as well. He's actually has a fairly unique look to him. So he's bigger and taller, and he's got like the ponytail going on. He's honestly got kind of a like Geralt in The Witcher kind of a setup going on, but like more cyberpunky than anything.
yeah, that's accurate. Plus there's I still like the fact that they like humanize some of these characters. You remember what the flavor text says on Crom's sidearm?
A gift from Papa Crom, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, exactly. So it's like, yeah, he's a bandit and he's a murderous, ruthless cutthroat. he's got a family just like everybody else. You know, he's just trying to make his way in the world, make some money, and make his dad proud.
Yeah,
one claptrap unit at a time.
Yeah, really. So, all right. Moving on, Drew, you want to take the next one then?
Yeah, I'm super excited about this one. So, coming in at number 3 is Taylor Cobb. So, Janus Cobb, way down the list towards the bottom. Taylor Cobb, a lot higher. Again, one perfect score for Taylor Cobb in X Factor. We'll get to that in a second. Pretty difficult Taylor Cobb is. It gets a 9 there because it's not impossible, obviously. Neither are the other perfect 10s, but like really difficult because when you go back to Taylortown, as it's now called, there's 2 turrets and Taylor has a rocket launcher, and man, is that a bitch.
In a very small area.
yeah, it's really tight quarters there. Probably similar to the amount of space that you have on the bottom floor when you're fighting Nine Toes.
Yeah.
Like just the most bottom level there.
Yeah.
So now imagine fighting Nine Toes, giving him a rocket launcher, and throwing 2 turrets in there. It's a pain in the ass.
It really is.
But Taylor gets a perfect 10 in X Factor because he's the only character in the game that goes from an NPC to a boss, to a fightable enemy of any kind, which is really fun. Oh wait,
what?
I just thought of another one.
Who's that?
Isn't there the guy in New Haven that like you get a mission or 2 from, and then he sells you out, and you can kill him at some point?
Don't remember right offhand. Man, I feel like I'm very underprepared for this now. Now, if you're talking about you're not talking about where you go to the shipping container and everything, are you?
No.
Okay, because I was gonna say because that's part of this.
No, there's the guy that gives you the mission to, and like you gotta find his like porno mags and stuff all over the place.
Oh, well, he's part of this storyline too, though. Like that's just an extra side mission for him.
Okay, all right, yeah, you're right. But anyways, so yeah, super difficult fight. But really, like I said, the most points came from the perfect 10 in X Factor because he's a bad dude. You know, like gets you to go and kill his brother, and then he takes over the town, and now you gotta fight him, and sets you up to, like Jeff said, like betrays you, and he's like, yeah man, he's like, your payment is in the shipping container, and his dudes hop out and try to kill you. Then you gotta go back to Taylortown and try to kill all of his other dudes, and then kill him. Gives you decent rewards because there's a couple of red chests there, I believe. So that's decent. Also gives you the roaster, which is a fire elemental rocket launcher. That's pretty sweet. That's not bad at all.
Yeah, again, kind of one of those things that can be used just by about just about anyone, so.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, so that's pretty much it on Taylor Cobb. I was a little surprised at how highly we had him. But like the difficulty, the uniqueness, and the X factor is what got him up to number 3. Jeff, you want to take number 2?
Yep. So, and for those of you that are wondering, yes, we know that the Cobb family and, Janus Cobb was, a reference to Jane Cobb from Firefly. Yes, we get that. So
yep, we're aware. Thank you.
Yep. Do not hit me up on Twitter. So, great show. I do really enjoy it. Didn't become super relevant. Okay. So, all right. So here we go. All right. We are at the final 2. So number 2 with 2 10s across the board is Skagzilla. So
Skag-Grilla.
Skag-Gorilla. So, yeah. So Skagzilla. All right. So let's talk about this. So here's a really interesting thing. We gave him a 10 in an area that we thought we weren't going to, because our first thought we thought we were going to give him a very low score in uniqueness because we're like, it's just a big skag, and then we're like, all right, it's a huge skag.
Yeah, it's Skagzilla is one of the 3 colossal bosses in the game, like we said. So the 3 colossal enemies in the game are Skagzilla, Mothrak, and the Rack Hive.
The Rack Hive.
Yeah.
So and they're imposing when you see them, especially when you first get to his cave and everything. First of all, you're luring him out with another skag. It's like, all right, hey, that's kind of messed up. Like,
Yep.
Like a barbecued skag. And then like when you get close, like he does this roar and it like shakes the entire ground. So like you're getting in for something, especially with how huge the cave is. So the other thing is that he has movesets that are not like any other skag in the game. That's the really interesting thing. He does the jump at you, that does the ground pound thing. He charges at you, which is really interesting. And yeah, other skags do that, but not to this level. He's got
also other skags do the jump thing, but not to that level,
Yeah. So like they really made sure to have weight behind what he did. You know how it is. It's like when you pick up a revolver for the first time in the game. It's the same thing. It's like it has meaning and weight and everything to it. So he also has his crazy laser beam attack that he does from his mouth, which is just crazy. So yeah, so really, really interesting enemy. For as far as the big enemies go, he's one of the most interesting ones. So the other thing is that he's fairly difficult. You shoot him in the mouth and everything like that, but still, even when you have a really good gun, it still takes a while. He's just a pile of health, and if you don't keep on your toes, he's going to mess you up. So, especially doing like a one-on-one fight against him is really tough. So,
it is similar to the Roid Rage Psycho fight, in which there's a lot of kiting, but it doesn't do you nearly as much good because of that jump attack.
Yeah, exactly. Because he can just close that distance right away, and that's really tough.
Right, he's like, running away, eh?
Exactly.
And he's bang, right there on top of you again.
Yeah. So we understand that he's still essentially just a big skag, so we didn't give him as many points as far as the X Factor go, because he's not, like, there's nothing unique about his model other than the fact that he's big.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of splitting hairs between uniqueness and X Factor, but that's just kind of the way we chose to do it. This is our list. If you want to make your own, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that, like, these... I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the episode. Really, all the opinions and numbers on this thing are ours and our own, and are totally infallible, so friggin' deal with it. Anyways...
Nice. So the other thing is that he's a solid XP farm, and he's got tons of loot. He doesn't have anything unique, but he's got a ton of it. Well, I can't even say that he doesn't have anything unique, because you can get the elephant gun, which can be used really, really well if you know how. So
right, scopeless and from the hip.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, no. So, he gives tons of loot. He gives you tons of XP. That's actually even used for an XP farm for speedrunning, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's so if you watch some speedruns on Borderlands 1, they'll go there's this back way. So what's normally the exit for him, you can like drive over there with a runner and then hop up on the rocks in a certain way and then hop in the back and then kill him again. So pretty good XP farm. Yeah,
absolutely. So yeah, as far as for the fact of just being a big skag, we gave him a fair amount of points. Honestly, the only thing that really held him back was the fact that he was more or less a big skag. So
yeah, if he was anything else, I think that he would have been better. So
well, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit more put into his design. So, honestly, if they would have done something similar to like the way they did with Scar and had some more stuff on him like that would have been great.
That's something that indicated that people have tried to kill him and everything.
Yeah.
There's some scattered stuff outside the den and everything, but like, could you imagine if there was like, I don't know, a rocket like sticking out of his back still and shit, something like that?
Yeah, something like that, and then maybe like around his legs and everything, you have like more of the knives and the swords and everything, like
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be cool.
But yeah, all right, here we go. Our number one. I'm gonna let Drew take it. Drew, who is our number one Borderlands boss in the vanilla game?
So the number one boss in the vanilla version of Borderlands is Commandant Steel. So no, psych, it's the Destroyer, which is why the Destroyer gets a perfect 10 in X Factor. Mm-hmm. Because you expect this whole time throughout the game to be fighting Commandant Steel, and then it's just like snatched away from you, and there's this giant hentai monster that you gotta kill. So, which is just great. So this is one of the ones we are going to go through all the scores on, and we're going to talk about difficulty. Surprisingly, a 7. Yeah. Not the toughest thing in the game because of the pillars that are on either side of the Destroyer. You can basically hide behind them. You can find a perfect spot to where it's basically Skagzilla eyeball beam attack, right? I mean, it's the same attack as Skagzilla has, but comes out of its eye instead of its mouth.
Right, yep.
If you hide behind it, you'll take no damage from it behind that pillar. And it's really the tentacles that make it more difficult because they slam around and there's just a ton of them. And it's,
between that and like the flying needle type things.
Right, and I feel like the most difficult thing is that there's no other smaller enemies around to kill when you're in fight for your life. You got to take out one of the tentacles. Man, that is a bitch. So, but still, not impossible. Gets a 7.
Yeah.
Uniqueness.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Just back up just a second. I want to touch on that a little bit more. Like Drew said, there's nothing really to get a second wind off of except the tentacles. And the other really difficult thing about it is he hurts real bad. This thing hurts real bad when it hits you. Like, except for like maybe the little needle things, everything does a ton of damage to you, and even those little needle things can kind of mess you up a little bit. So
yeah, they add up after a while.
The other tough thing about it is it's really hard to hit the tentacles behind the pillars. So if the perfect place to actually kind of cheese this thing and take it out is also the most detrimental place if you go in a fight for your life. So it's a really big give and take. So
yep, that makes it tricky.
So there are some builds where it's kind of tough to do it and everything like that. If you're running one of the melee characters as a melee build, gonna have a rough time with that. Right. Any gun build is going to be able to take this thing out, or should be able to, and stuff like that. But overall, pretty difficult. Anyway, you were starting to say about the uniqueness.
Yeah, uniqueness. I mean, it's the only monster of its type in the entire game. You're not going through the whole game fighting tiny destroyers, which, as cute as that would be, just like a little firing the laser, just and you're like, stop it.
Could you imagine that? Just like, because it's it's built into the wall, like that's part of its thing. It's built into the into the vault. Yeah. So could you imagine just like running by like a canyon wall or something like that? There's just like a tiny vault, and then just this destroyer just like.
That'd be so good. Anyways, uniqueness. Pretty much the only, it's the only thing like it. Is it the only fixed enemy in the game? It might be. I mean, Crom doesn't really count because once you get up to him, Crom can ditch his turret and start moving around to shoot you. I think he's the only fixed location enemy in the game. Now that I think about it.
And it works really well too, though.
Yeah, it still makes it super difficult. I'm gonna skip rewards for a second. That's gonna be the last thing we address. X Factor. Like I said, 10. He's the BBEG. He is the surprise boss when you expected to be killing Commandant Steel this whole time. So that's why he gets perfect 10 in X Factor.
Yeah, it's just you're going through this entire time, and the entire thing that drives you from the very beginning of the game. And if anyone's even tried to get you into Borderlands, you know how this is. It's like, oh, okay, you should play Borderlands. Oh, cool, what's it about? It's like, oh, it's this great game where you kill things and you get loot. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So then you start the game and it's like, hey, your job is to get loot. Guess what? This vault, it's full of loot. It's full of, a ton of loot and everything like that. And you're like, oh, this is sweet. Super excited about that. So then you get to this thing, and you're like, all right, all I gotta do is fight Commandant Steel, and I get all this loot.
And the whole time you're just like, man, she's pissing me off. I can't wait to shoot this bitch in the face. I'm dying to kill this woman, you know?
Yeah. And then like she starts talking to you and she does the whole thing and she's like, looks like I won. And you're like, I know something's about to happen and I'm actually going to take you out. Watch this happen. Before you can even do that, she's taken out in just one hit by this thing and you have no idea what it is. You're like, oh no, what is, oh, and then it like eats her and it shows the thing and you're like, oh no. Like,
yeah. You're like, man, this is not what I expected. So
you lied to me.
Yeah. So we skipped over rewards quickly. I want to address this specifically.
We have a Barry Bonds in here.
Yeah. So there is an asterisk next to the number 10 in rewards, because had Jeff and I done this episode 6 months ago when there was no Borderlands remaster, the Destroyer would have gotten like a 1 or a 2 in rewards.
Yeah, most likely a 1.
Right. So that would have put it on par with, let's see, Jeff and I did the math, and I think it puts it on par with like the Rack Hive and Nine Toes.
Yeah, which would then have made Skegzilla the number 1 boss in the game.
Yes, which I feel fine with. You know,
yeah.
It's just the way that so if you want to look at it that way, that's fine. Like if we're discussing the original version of Borderlands, the Destroyer is like tied for 4th. Okay?
Yeah.
But because in the remaster, when you kill the Destroyer, you are guaranteed a legendary weapon. That puts it at a 10.
Yeah,
and
from the red chest. So
Right. Between that and the red chest, like it's a perfect 10. It's the only guaranteed legendary in the entire game.
An entire vanilla game, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, like that's our whole reasoning for it. And we talked about this, and Drew will know what I'm getting to when we have this conversation, because we had this exact same conversation. Because we talked about it for a long time. We're like, do we really put the Destroyer as the top 1? Because that's what everyone's going to expect. And then, do you remember what I asked you about another similar situation, Drew? As far as that goes? Okay. So I asked Drew, I was like, all right, yes, think of it this way, though. If you're talking about...
Oh, yeah.
If you're talking about video games... And you're talking about what's the best sword in all of video games, and you, without any hesitation, what did you say?
Yeah, I said it's the Master Sword.
That's what it is. There's not going to be anything more powerful than the Master Sword. There's not going to be any better boss that's better set up than the Destroyer in this. The rewards were the only thing that, like Drew said 6 months ago, would have kept it from being up there. But now that it has the red chests, now that it has the guaranteed legendary chests in there as well, this thing is almost perfect. So nothing got a perfect score. This was as close as it came with a whopping 37 out of 40.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
and I have no qualms with that. I mean, like I said, had we done and the fact that we're addressing that caveat and like we're like, yeah, it's not. First of all, it's not perfect. Not even. It's. I mean, it's close, but it's not. It's definitely not perfect. And had we come out with this episode 6 months ago, it would be far from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just that's the best thing about it. That's the best thing they could have done to finally put it over the top. And I hope somebody from Gearbox hears this to be like, yeah, like they finally made it right, because that's how the game should be, right? So I can't wait to do this episode on Borderlands 2. I mean, it's going to be a while, because God, who would like to hear 2 episodes like that in a row? But so it's going to be a while before we get to that episode. Yeah. But I think just based on pure speculation, I'm going to guess that the Warrior is not number 1.
I wouldn't think so. No.
I mean, we'll probably use the same criteria and everything, just because it seemed to be a system that worked pretty well. Like, if we look at the list from bottom to top, excuse me, I feel really good about where everybody fell. Like yeah, Sledge should be, in the top third. And yeah, Janus Cobb should be in the bottom third. And having Reaver and Bonehead right in the middle feels about right, Yeah. So to have them after after 10 years, go back and change the destroyer to where it's at the top of the list by a significant margin. It beat out Skagzilla by 5 points.
Yeah, it's a lot of points.
So that they finally like set it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree with you more. So I could not agree with you more. So anyway.
Oh, quick, another little thing. So on the list of bosses on there, like we already addressed Hans and Franz and Pinky and Digit. They also had Scrappy all grown up on there, which we didn't even know was a thing, because apparently like after you save Scrappy for Crazy Earl, if you go back after entering the Crimson Fastness, Scrappy is all grown up and like full size big badass Skag or whatever, and you can like lead it to go and fight other enemies, and then it becomes killable. You could, but why?
Why would you do that?
Why would you kill Earl's pet?
Yeah, why would you kill Scrappy? So that is just so wrong. I bet you the same people that would kill Earl's pet are the same people that did not let Tiny Tina press the button in the most recent DLC for Borderlands 2.
That's messed up.
You know who you are.
Y'all messed up. Anyways, so Scrappy's off the list. Killing people's pets is wrong.
Yeah, if you are doing that, stop it. Get some help.
Right, exactly. So that wraps up our conversation on the Borderlands bosses ranked. Real quick run through again. I'm just going to go from the bottom. Widowmaker, Helob, King Aracob, Queen Tarantalo, Master McLeod, Slither, Janus Cobb, One-Eyed Jack, Roid Rage, Psycho, Mad Mel, Bleeder, Scar, Bonehead, Reaver, King Wee Wee, Baron Flint, Sledge, Rakinishu, Mothrak, Moen, Marley, Rakhive, Ninetoes, Crom, Taylor, Cobb, Skagzilla, and the Destroyer.
Perfect. That was very well done.
Thank you. So that's going to bring us to our last segment of the episode. Just like every episode, we're going to end this with Going, Going, Gun.
Woo! Pew, 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 pew.
So, unsurprisingly, considering how much we talked about it earlier and how it relates to Slither, we're going to talk about the Dove. So, actually, totally unsurprisingly, because I told you earlier that it's going to be on the Dove. I just straight up told you.
Yeah. Yeah, you did.
So, if you're surprised, get your memory checked. Take some vitamin B.
If you're surprised, don't be.
Right. So, the Dove is a unique repeater pistol manufactured by Dahl. As we stated earlier, it does not consume ammo. However, exactly like the Infinity, it requires one bullet in the inventory.
Yeah. So, really interesting, kind of a setup that they have for that. So, because it's Dahl, it's, burst fire, but
weird.
So not as good as it possibly could be. So it can have any element on it. It has the elements up to ×2 in there, and it actually has fixed accuracy, which is really interesting, and fixed accuracy and fire rate of 87.2 and 3.7. So again, really interesting.
Respectively, that's not an. Could you imagine a fixed accuracy of 3.7 and a fire rate of 87.2? That'd be nuts.
Just pull the trigger once. Just pull the trigger once. Be like, I killed it. What? Everything.
Yeah, it just sprayed bullets everywhere.
So
fun thing about it, magazine capacity is always between 12 and 14.
Irrelevant.
Doesn't matter. So something else that we didn't talk about. Actually, I want to get to that point last. But anyways, it can spawn with elemental modifiers, giving it really great elemental abilities, like a fire dove or a corrosive dove, or just any of them. Like really, really great.
Yeah.
Pretty useful. You kind of want to use it as your backup weapon most of the time if it's just a standard non-elemental dove. Just kind of keep it on the side, for when you're running low on ammo on other things, or you can use it to whittle down the enemy's health and then finish them off with the bigger gun, or the other way around, so that way you're saving ammo on the other stuff. Works pretty well. It can be obtained as the reward from Alter Ego, Godless Monsters, or as a rare drop from Slither after playthrough 2. So that's pretty neat. Jeff, you want to talk about the last thing that makes the Dove so good?
Yeah, so the really interesting thing about the Dove is that we've talked about that it does have the different elemental variants on it and everything like that. Everything from corrosive, shock, fire, explosive, all that kind of good stuff. It doesn't even have to have an element on it as well. The fact that it doesn't consume ammo, pretty cool. It can also have a melee thing on it, but that's not why you'd be using it. The really, really interesting thing about it, and the reason that we're talking about it, and the reason that Slither actually got, even the perfect score on that, which is really interesting, is because so the Dove comes with its predefined basic parts for the body, the mag, no sight, and then the action on it. But the really interesting thing is that you can actually get the Dove as it's one of the few hybrid weapons in the game. For those of you that don't know hybrid weapons, we'll probably make that a topic someday, maybe?
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
So, but the really interesting thing is that you can actually get a Dove to spawn. You might kill Slither, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, that's not a Dove, that's a Hornet. No. It is both, my good friend, my good Vault Hunter. So the Dove, and
both
you can check this
simultaneous.
Yes. So you look, and you can find this on the wiki about the Dove. The Dove can spawn with the Hornet accessory, which gives the Feel the Sting effect and retains the Dove's special effect. The name changes to the BL3 Hornet and only displays the Hornet's red text. So here's the thing. Hornet's pretty good. Okay. The Hornet is,
The Doll Repeater does corrosive damage.
Yeah, pretty good at what it does. It does fire and bursts and everything like that. So, but the really interesting thing is that if you get this, so you basically make this a Hornet that does not consume ammo. Yeah.
What?
You heard that.
That's so good.
It is. It is. So
if you've been listening to this show for a while, you know how good corrosive damage is in Borderlands 1. To have that infinitely is crazy.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Late game, or final playthrough, 2.5 playthrough is pretty difficult in Borderlands. Even when you're geared pretty well, it's pretty difficult. This thing is pretty much on par with making it feel like normal mode, so it actually helps you out quite a bit. However, if you combine this with anything as far as elemental damage, like Mordecai or Lilith can do, man, this thing does work.
Yep.
So this thing does so much work, and you can see it. You can look up videos and everything like that of just people melting face with this, and it's just ridiculous. The thing that's tough is it's really hard to get it. It's really hard to get it. Yeah. So what I think so you get the Dove to drop. All right, that's already tough enough to get it to drop or whatever. The chance of when a Dove drops to have it be the Dove Hornet hybrid is about 1 in 3,000, if I remember right.
So if you really want it, I think the probably easier way would be kill Slither, go and turn in the reward, and then dashboard quit.
Yeah.
And just turn in the quest over and over and hope for one, because that'd be quicker.
So, but yeah, no, it's, so yeah, that's probably going to be the best way. If you want to, you can go ahead and, continue to kill Slither and everything like that. It might work out for you, but it's just a really interesting thing, as far as like that. Like you hear about these hybrid guns and everything like that. And, this is one of the few that doesn't get talked about as much. And I'm not really sure why. I mean, obviously the main one that everyone hears about is the Ajax Ogre, but still, but like this is still pretty good. So anyway, so that's but yeah, that is the Dove. If you are lucky enough to farm this and get the Dove Hornet hybrid, awesome, congratulations. I feel really bad because that's going to happen where some person is going to forget about the BLR prefix that you need to actually make it the hybrid, and they're going to get just like a world drop Hornet, be like, oh, I got it, and then it's going to use ammo, they're going to be like, oh no. Like,
right, yeah, that'd be funny.
So anyway, so yeah, that's
sorry,
the Dove, and that's our show.
Yeah, that wraps up episode 7. Hopefully you enjoyed our list. If not, like I said, it's infallible, so your opinion doesn't matter. unless it's exactly the same as ours, in which case, congratulations. So, that's going to wrap it up. Join us next time in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to it. Good luck and good drops.
Hold on.
Whoa.
Okay. So I want to point out we're getting very excited because the next time that we talk to you guys will be our first. It'll be our first episode in August, and at that point, we will be almost right at a month away from Borderlands 3.
Oh my god, dude! I'm so stoked. I also realized that we're gonna actually be recording a new episode 2 days after the release. So, how exciting is that gonna be? Because I plan it all out. I'm like record pods every 2 weeks, So the episode, we're going to have one exactly after that. But anyways, we're coming up on almost exactly 2 hours, so we might as well end it right at 2 hours. Good luck and good drops. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.